Previously on Fortnite Follies, the Citadel Saga.
My investigation will start on the barge itself. If that part of the investigation doesn't turn up results, then I will search the surrounding area. Hopefully, Triggerfish secured us a search warrant, or this could be awkward. Or, is that how it goes with a military operation? More specifically, espionage agents? Although, then again, espionage is typically outlawed anyway, and yet we've been deployed by the Seven to place wiretaps near the bases of two different enemy factions. Now confronting Riptide about the lone coral buddy I confiscated from near the barge. He seems to be threatening me. Who cares about the coral buddies, you ask? Triggerfish and Princess Brine do. And you seem to, for whatever reason. Now confronting him on the location of the rest of the coral buddies. Is he lying to me? Oh, now I definitely know that he's lying to me. That's why they care about the coral buddies. They are selling them to a wealthy collector. They have some nerve, threatening us like that. You know they would say that to you too. Oh boy, they don't know who they are trifling with, this time. I'd love to see them talk this smack to one of our destroyers. Also, like V4E1 said, despite Carnage's frightening power and now larger army, nothing really happens around Y Labs. It's like we don't even matter anymore to him. But why? Didn't you say during some of your conversations with your friends and other subordinates that we were originally ordered by Carnage, instead of you? In fact, during the briefing you said that to us. That, since Carnage had originally been the one to order us, that he'd probably want to hack the server to get us back, or at least be able to spy on you through us, eventually making you paranoid enough that you shut us down. And the same thing repeats again? My point is, it seems like Carnage should care a lot more about the SDA than he does, since, despite having none of your own creations, you still have threatening models that could still ruin his plans of assimilating it. I have an idea for you. As I am an infiltrator droid, I know a thing or two about gathering intelligence and espionage. The next time you capture a droid you defeat, turn Carnage's own strategy against him. But don't tell him that you did so like he did you. That's where he went wrong. It still paid off anyway, in the most idiotic way possible, but the fact of the matter is, you and he have the same level of intelligence. Use that as your weapon, instead of your anger towards him. If your drive is vengeance, you are just as dumb as Carnage. However, if you play his own card against him, and keep a poker face about it, then you could pull off a victory so great that it could turn the tide of the war back in our favor, once and for all. Speaking of Citadel, by the way, have you searched Carnage's Citadel since you sent Twiggy and Spider-Man Canada to it, finding out that it's still an active hive in the process? That is another suggestion. Maybe he's not there, but the fact of the matter is, Carnage is still using the Citadel for something. Why have anyone guarded, let alone a single second-generation V1 infantry droid, if you weren't still using it for something? Even if it is just a decoy base to distract you from his real base, he's still using it for something. But remember, move in quietly, and wisely. Don't get overconfident just because you could potentially capture it as a new base of operations. And if he's not there, refer to my first suggestion to pinpoint where he is. Those are the two plans I have for you. If you want to win this war, you may want to utilize at least one of them, if not both. It started out as small talk, but then, when it came to talking about Carnage, my infiltrator programming kicked in, and started divulging the intel I gathered thus far about the situation. I feel like I'm giving you the key to victory here. Whatever you heed, and in whatever order, could, as I said, turn the tide of the war. But remember, your biggest asset, and his biggest liability, is you learning from the mistake he made with his espionage strategy, and refining a new strategy, almost foolproof, against him, now delivering the intel to Triggerfish. According to him, those two have a long history with him, to where he knows their personalities. And it indeed looks like we will have to fight. Oh please, Jester, send a Destroyer Droid, and when you get the opportunity, show me the Duel from her point of view. It could either be a standard Destroyer Droid or an Arctic Series Destroyer Droid. Either way, please let me see the result, so that I may take immense satisfaction in their fall. I will not tolerate direct, or indirect, threats to my comrades. Whatever it takes, I will mow down any opponent in my path. And then, once I have proven myself sufficiently to trigger fish, I will then challenge the leader, Riptide, to a duel, and mow him down the same way. And, if need be, I will do the same with Turk. 1 elimination down, 19 to go. Capture progress is currently over 50%. Nothing to report as of yet. Something just cropped up as I was saying that. Assailant neutralized. Maintaining my post as capture nears completion. That has now been 2 eliminations, and 2 headshots. See how quickly I'm cutting through the objective. This is efficiency at its finest. This is why a Destroyer Droid is the best suited for a mission like this. As our name suggests, we destroy many opponents in our path. If we run into an opponent that many have called sweats, however, that's where we start to struggle. Meanwhile, as we were ordered by Carnage originally, friendliness was not a selling point. We were meant to be soldiers. And I'm sorry, but there are some issues that we have with some of the decisions you've made. Although, then again, Carnage's army has been on a losing streak, so a couple of bad decisions still doesn't take away from you still being the better of 3 leaders. Even despite the fact that you lost 10 of our successors, and all of the battle droids you and Carnage worked on together. Again, you still seem to be a great leader, as you have defeated members of 2 different armies also deploying droids, with a 100% win rate for one that's seemingly run by a droid, and an 85% win rate for the other, ran by Carnage. Both win rates make your average win rate, not counting the conflicts outside of the droid war, 92%. Hold that thought, there's another enemy engaging me in a firefight. Now engaging the new challenger. Destroyer mode engaged, neutralizing assailant. Destroyer mode disengaged. As I was saying earlier, you should be proud of that. Because the ODA, so-called, your greatest competitor in the droid war, only has a win rate of 14%. And then the CID, which is the lesser of the 2 competitors, has a 0% win rate. 5 eliminations and headshots down, 15 more to go. Anyway, I've talked with V2C5, and from what she's said, the CID don't actually want to fight us. I mean, true, they've sent 4 droids after us so far, and 1 attacked us to try to prove herself worthy of being in either our army or the CID, or perhaps even the ODA, but even that attack was silenced. And she joined our army when you realized what she really wanted. Which is actually the same thing, according to V2C5, that the CID wants, to prove that they're still worth being in our army, and being able to rejoin their creator in battle. Which brings up a question, are you going to accept their proposal, especially when V2C5 reported that V2C1 has warned Carnage of what would happen if he attacked you again? Think about it, you may have lost your newer droids, but you have a chance to retrieve your older creations, and some new droids they've ordered. Isn't it worth a truce to have 3 armies instead of 2 going after Carnage's army at once? Isn't it worth having allies that won't betray you like the droids affected by Order 95 have? After all, with V2C1 already having threatened war against Carnage, an old saying comes to mind. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right? I'd take the chance if I were you. If you don't take the chance, you will remain in a 2-on-1-on-1 war. Regardless of your decision, unless you let the CID join us, the CID will apparently remain neutral, making your protection their top priority, but also proving their worth if they have to. That's what their involvement in the war has always been about, according to V2C5. And why would a droid lie about that? And now that they've seen a way to prove their worth without fighting you, they have called for a ceasefire against you. Their new primary focus is on watching Carnage, trying to determine what his next move will be. And, according to V2C5, should Carnage act against you again, they will retaliate without mercy against him. To me, the wisest choice is obvious, take their offer, form an alliance, and crush the ODA, once and for all. Now that I have that done, time to move on with the mission. And moving on I have, as that was the 4th elimination, making my total headshots and eliminations 6, so it's still slow, but pretty steady progress. So, now I just have to eliminate one more opponent, or hit one more headshot, to complete my mission. After that, whatever mission comes next, whether it's briefing for the next mission, or the duel itself, will be my next priority. Opponent neutralized. The final point has been earned, and now, the next mission is in fact the aforementioned duel. However, both Turk and Riptide are deep in the storm. Even if I could duel them at this point, I wouldn't be able to make it that far north one way before the storm eliminated me. I would highly advise sending out one of my successors to duel Riptide or Turk, whichever you prefer, but I strongly believe that the leader is Riptide. Turk may be bad, but I feel like he's too nice to be the leader. Although, then again, I don't know for sure what Turk's true personality is. Through either charisma or hidden ruthlessness, Turk could be the leader. I don't know, and frankly, I don't care. Both threatened V2I2, they've both gotten on Triggerfish's bad side, and both reasons are enough for us to duel and eliminate either or both of them. Therefore, whoever you deploy next, make sure they know not to underestimate the two. If they're confident enough to threaten an infiltrator droid, they are at least somewhat competent with a gun. She's been on base for 10 months, and yet, despite having attacked us prior to your interrogation, she's been nothing but civil. She's even provided V1D4 with advice on how to be a better leader, and I've gotten a few combat tips and insightful conversations from her. She's very wise and experienced compared to a lot of droids you and Carnage have created. Even a V11 super droid commander couldn't come close to her wisdom. Even the tactical and super tactical droids you created haven't provided advice this great. She's incredible in her level of experience. To have a friend like her would provide a surefire way of ending the war. I've heard that one of Carnage's droids tried firing at a car that was driving right towards it, only to be eliminated shortly afterwards. I refuse to make the same mistake. Therefore, I will force the opponent to come to me, and fight me on my terms. Skull Trooper eliminated, retrieving his supplies. Mostly his ammunition, medical supplies, and building materials. I know it may be somewhat arrogant to expect this to work, but I have to try. Now searching a produce box at the top floor. How much progress did I get on the mission? None? Fine. It has to be chests or ammo boxes, despite there being a 10% chance that either are still available in frenzy fields at this point. I would say that next time, a destroyer droid should land here first, but that would compromise the availability of Riptide and Turk for dueling. However, Berg Barge is close, somewhat close, to Brutal Bastion. Once my successor finishes up the duel, should I fail, she could potentially head to Brutal Bastion to see what she can do. Regardless, I will continue to do the best I can where all involved missions are concerned. Where landing at Breakwater Bay and placing top 20 is concerned, I'm doing great. Now searching for opponents or chests. Taking fire. If I were more confident, I would say that this would be a great opportunity for eliminating the assailant, but the parameters I would have to follow would limit my effectiveness. I'll just neutralize them with my Mark Alpha. Neutralization successful, moving on to the next destination. At this point, I have 9 eliminations, and am one of the last 5 loopers still on the island. This is the true power, skill, and ferocity of a Kata Tech Destroyer Droid, Triggerfish. I beat the most heavily armed and armored native on your island with a relatively low-powered Mark Alpha assault rifle. Do you still think we can't handle 2 poachers? Well, you're wrong. Now drinking big pots in order to recover the shield lost from fighting the ageless champion for the first time in months. Shields are now full, proceeding to the next destination. No time to search this chest, the storm is hot on my trail. I have now lasted over 17 minutes. Overall, I feel great about my progress. I have proven that, despite being almost a year older than an Arctic destroyer, that I can still keep up with our little sisters. But with that year came experience. That's the difference. Our 10 successors may be natural fighters from the time they were activated, but we still have the skills to match. I know that I said I had no time for chests, but I also don't expect to eliminate an opponent with an SMG, so I'm searching this house anyway. Yup, I'm gone.
Well, if that's the case, I guess it's time to deploy the next Destroyer Droid then. Alright. Destination, Berg Barge.
It's time. Riptide's had this a long time coming. Ever since he threatened V2I2, in fact. I mean, come on, telling her she'd better, quote, swim downstream or she may be eaten by sharks, unquote. Indirect or not, it's easy to see who the sharks are. Riptide and Turk. I will personally teach them that, poachers or not, you don't threaten my comrades. Now en route to Berg Barge. 154 meters remain, and dropping fast. It would be unwise to take them unarmed, so I will land on the barge itself, and ransack it for whatever weapons it has on board. Chest spotted, making final approach so that I may open it as soon as I land. Now opening the chest. Contents, thermal DMR, minis, medium bullets, and stone. Now I have run across the drum shotgun, easily the most crucial weapon I've obtained thus far. Like V1D1 said, we struggle with DMRs, so the thermal DMR is dubious at best. I'm not sure why they've got sheets of ice on the barge. Do they plan to sell that too? If so, they'd better find a better way of storing it in warmer climates, or else, all they'll end up taking to whatever client wants it is pretty close to, if not exceeding, a gallon of water. Not that I'd care. Until my lesson has been taught, I couldn't care less whether they got the ice to their customer, or whether it melted en route to the shore near the customer. Now drinking the minis to put my shield up to 50%. This is crucial to the success of the mission. Alright, I believe I have prepared as much as possible, now moving to confront Riptide. If any looper gets in my way, they too shall be eliminated. I have a mission to do, and I will complete it to the letter, looper or no. That's the power, ferocity, and skill of a Tech Destroyer Droid. Looper engaged, combat mode activated. Enemy neutralized, now moving to collect ammunition and building materials. Now restoring my shield to 50%. By the way, Riptide, don't get too comfortable. Because you're next. I have now fully restored my shield and systems, so you and me? We're dueling. Right here, right now. Half of these bullets are for the coral buddies, but the other half is for threatening my comrade. I will teach you who and what you're up against. You're doing pretty well for yourself, but how much longer can you take this level of punishment? Not that much longer. No big surprise. Now, where are the coral buddies? Ha! There you go. If you're a shark, then I am a devourer. Thank you for the information, Riptide. So, now I just have to find the location for myself. The mission marker appears to be on the barge itself. But I already searched there, unless, are they in the cargo crates? If your destination is hot enough, you'll burn those poor helpless creatures alive. Fortunately, since he gave me their location, this barge won't move an inch before I confiscate the coral buddies from on its deck. Now moving on to secure the coral buddies. I went the wrong way at first. Now boarding the barge itself. Like I said before, unless they're in the cargo crates, I once again can't find them. Oh, they're in the cave. Got it. En route to the cave. How was I supposed to see that on my map with snow being the same color? Arg, I begrudgingly have to admit, that's a clever way of hiding the coral buddies. But wait, how did Triggerfish find them in the area scanner? How did he manage to read the scan when these white diamonds were so hard to see? Did he get the big blue pin instead? That would have been nice if I'd gotten that. Oh well, I rescued them all anyway, now I just have to report back to Triggerfish. However, if I'm to make it to him before the storm makes him unsafe to approach, I'm going to have to go now. Because I'm no meteorologist, but judging by the fact that I am currently not in the next predicted eye, and it's that far from the storm wall itself, I doubt that Triggerfish is in the next predicted eye too. Speaking of being in the storm, I am now in the storm, taking damage. I need to go, before my systems sustain too much damage to function. Part of me wonders what Turk's reaction would have been to me telling him that I defeated Riptide. Still, the mission is done, and my next objective, unless I'm just not capable, is to report to Triggerfish about all this. My current objective, however, is to get around this wall, and into the eye, before my systems shut down. Since it may take a while for me to get into the eye, engage an opponent in combat, and or make it to Triggerfish to report that the mission is complete, and to return the coral buddies to his care, let's chat a little bit. So, V2I2 said that if you deployed me, to let her see my point of view of my duel against Riptide, I'll see what I can do once I get back to base. In the meantime, I'll try to figure out what to do next. I agree with V1D1, recruiting V2C1 would bring nothing but the ODA's end. And through her, we'd have the support of the entire CID, which we would need to make up for Carnage stealing all of the droids you deactivated during Operation Radio Silence. And don't get me wrong, the reason you made a mistake there wasn't the fact that you deactivated the droids to prevent Carnage from spying on us, it was that you didn't have very many competent guards on base. Especially in the building where the droids themselves were stored. That's where you went wrong, and again, I have to give you credit. Carnage could have easily invaded Y Labs or Kada Tech to start the whole process anew, and if he did it enough, the base would only be guarded by the few organic soldiers you had left. Unless you called in help from the 7 Marine Corps. Then that may turn the tide. Also, forgive my pessimism, but I don't think there's any way to get to Triggerfish anymore. I mean, currently, he's not very deep in the storm yet, but due to the route I had to take to get out of the storm myself, I'm a pretty great distance away from Triggerfish's dock, and as it is, the storm is already moving again. If there was no hope before, there certainly isn't any hope now. At this point, all I can do are all the weekly missions V1D1 couldn't complete herself. And even then, that's a stretch, as Brutal Bastion is not in the eye, and Frenzy Fields is one of the most popular landing spots on the island. On top of that, I don't even have an SMG through which I could complete that mission. So really, all I can do is the very best I can, and whatever happens happens. I can't help it any more than you can. We all have our limits, and I'm probably gonna meet mine soon. I can't currently see the next predicted eye, so it must be pretty far away from where I am. Great. Just what I needed on top of being unable to do a darn thing about any of the objectives I have left. I'm sorry about my complaints and my failures. I'm trying to do the best I can so that I may also return to active duty while not on guard duty. And I did complete the mission to duel Riptide and rescue the coral buddies, so at least I managed to do something, right? I may not have done as good as my predecessor, but hopefully I did enough. Regardless, the fact that you deployed me today did give me some hope, so here's looking forward to my next deployment. I hope it's soon. And would you look at that? While I was chatting with you, I not only found, but entered, the current eye. Now the next predicted eye is once again not shown on the map, but this time, there can't be that much more of the island left to traverse, so I won't lose hope like I did in the last storm phase. I will continue to run, fly, glide, slide and sprint to it until I make it, and from there, like I said before, I'll do the very best I can. Now I can see the next predicted eye. I knew I didn't have that much further to go before I saw it. And I still have a minute and 3 seconds before the storm moves again. There should be no question as to if I can make it into the eye. The only exception is if I were eliminated by a looper, which is always not only possible, but also very likely, especially if they happen to be sweats. Outside of that, there should be no excuse for not being able to get in the eye. If I don't get in the eye because I eliminated myself via fall damage, that would be humiliating. Therefore, I need to watch the ground for crevasses, and take the safest path around or over the crevasse in question. If I see a mushroom, and have a straight path to the other side, I will take it. Just like that, as a matter of fact. Now making my way the rest of the way to the eye, but not before investigating this trailer. This usually has a chest in it, and if I want to have any hope of eliminating a looper with an SMG, I'd need to take any opportunity to grab one as I can get. Unfortunately, this trailer didn't provide such an opportunity. Such a bummer. Oh well, I guess I'll just camp in this trailer for now. Did I just see something moving? Yes I did. And now I'm taking fire. I believe that this is it for me. Engaging in combat. I got a few hits in, but I'm being pressured. Now building in preparation to heal myself. They broke through. My shotgun.
Oh, your shotgun wasn't reloaded. Oopsies, that happens to me sometimes. Oh well, onwards to the next round, I guess.
Time to report to Triggerfish about my predecessor completing her mission. As everyone expected, it was all too easy for a Destroyer Droid to eliminate a lowly poacher. Even V2I2 expected her to win, and she's not even from the same manufacturer. If an outsider is confident that a Kata-Tech Destroyer Droid can win against Riptide, then you know we're skilled. Anyway, en route to Triggerfish's dock. It shouldn't be too much longer that I land at the dock, and give Triggerfish the great news. 286 meters to go, and rapidly dropping, though it looks like I misjudged the drop a bit. Oh well, I can run the rest of the way. No problem. As a matter of fact, I can practically see part of the dock right now. I've just got to close the gap. I find myself wondering if any Arctic destroyer has missed like this, and considered sliding down this hill. It would be a smart move that allows for faster speeds. That's why I used it to get here. Anyway, I'm just about to the dock, and he's right there, waiting for me. I just have to climb the stairs up to him. As soon as I get through talking to Triggerfish, I may investigate the glowing object behind him. Well, would you look at that? He finally respects us as a competent army. He promised Princess Brine that he'd protect the coral buddies. He'd better be vigilant, then. I'm going to have him repeat that first part. Ah, it feels great to be recognized as an actual soldier. Like I said before, if you've promised to protect them, you're going to need to be vigilant around the clock. You've got a cousin that can help you build a sanctuary? They must be one talented fish person? Nice, very nice. Well, they'd better fortify that sanctuary, or else someone who hasn't heard what happened to Riptide will swoop in and grab them again, and you'll have to call upon us to duel them again. Not that we'd mind. If they're poachers, odds are they'll threaten my comrades, and incur the wrath of the SDA again. Unless you need the infiltrator droids to learn where they took the coral buddies next time, I would be all too pleased to teach them a lesson. Anyway, it's time to move on to the next destination. And with that, I believe more casual chatter is warranted. I'm glad to have been deployed for active duty again. It's been a while since I was last deployed. And while I agree that guard duty is important, with how Carnage has never shown up at our post at Kata-Tech, it does get monotonous to keep patrolling in a place where the enemy never shows up. No shots are fired, no damage is sustained. It's just quiet. At the end of each day, we just march back to Fort 7 wondering what the point was. Do we not matter to Carnage as much as you thought we did? What is the point? What is his plan? Why do we keep getting sent to what our enemy doesn't even give a flying bolt about? He doesn't even send any droids to Kata-Tech. Hold that thought, I'm being engaged in combat by a looper. Havoc suppressed assault rifle obtained, engaging assailant. Firing rounds from my Havoc suppressed assault rifle upon my assailant. They are slippery, I'll give them that. They're hopping like a frog. There we go, assailant neutralized. Anyway, as before, I feel like the reason why Carnage isn't attacking Y-Labs or Kata-Tech yet is because that would be too predictable. I mean, he just pulled off this heist at Fort 7, and he knows you've been preparing for him to raid Y-Labs or Kata-Tech, and sent troops to guard against him. He knows that, until the dust settles, there would be no point to attack either of them, because they're too heavily guarded, and would be a waste of energy and resources. He doesn't have a great army yet, and I dare say he won't attack either one until he does. If I were you, I'd send at least some of us to guard some of our marine bases that are being built as we speak. Because it's very likely that he will strike one of them next. Now drinking minis to get my shield up to 50%. Now finishing up with the big pot to get my shield the rest of the way to full. There we go. Now it's time to move on. While I go, I'm going to spray myself with medmist so as to restore my systems to perfect condition. It's absolutely amazing that medmists can work this well, even on battle droids. Zersk's Destructo droids, Kata-Tech battle droids, Y-Labs battle droids, and even some you've designed yourself, Jester. The fact that our systems are repaired by this spray is nothing short of amazing. Anyway, now let's see what we can do next, since this whole poacher fish war is done, for now, at least. Perhaps the many weekly missions we have left, such as searching chests at Brutal Bastion, or eliminating or damaging opponents with an SMG. And should I complete those two, and whatever comes after the SMG mission, I could also make a start on the trial. Whatever objective must be completed in order to get that done. But, in order to complete the missions in the first place, I would need to meet several prerequisites. In order to damage an enemy with an SMG, I would need an SMG, and in order to search chests at Brutal Bastion or Frenzy Fields, I would need to arrive in either of those two locations. It's that simple. Out of the two, searching chests at Brutal Bastion is the more straightforward route, albeit as late in the match as I am. The chances of finding a chest that hasn't been searched yet is, being generous, 20%. Still, as the chances of getting an SMG from any chest or off of the floor is completely random, 20% looks just that little bit better. It could be extremely easy one match, and nearly impossible the next. There still appears to be quite a lot of interference in our server. Our Arctic destroyers have control issues, while we seem to be operating a little bit slower than usual. I hope those issues are resolved soon, as these bugs are getting old. However, despite them, I'll still try to get as many missions done as I can. Maybe there's a new project going on that makes the maintenance of our server take a lower priority than the project itself. As such, I will try to also remain patient, though this operating speed may make that difficult. Now moving on through shattered slabs to the next destination. One thing that doesn't seem to have changed much is our effectiveness in combat. Like, D1 eliminated several opponents, and got a majority of the headshots required to complete the duel training Triggerfish put us through on Relic. Then D2 eliminated Riptide in a duel, and now I have eliminated an opponent already. Aside from a slower operating speed, the server issues don't seem to affect us as badly as it does the Arctic destroyers. Now entering the house. I may instead work to finish as close to a victory as possible. As such, I will employ some of your strategies, Jester. Camping, and waiting to ambush an opponent. Those are very effective strategies, should you pull them off right. Otherwise, you'll just be sent back to the lobby or starting island. As such, it's recommended that you are vigilant, and have effective weapons to eliminate an enemy should they come through the door. It's also recommended that you don't stay in the room whilst the storm is coming straight for you, unless, and even when, there's an enemy right near you. In such cases, you're just between a rock and a hard place, and are very likely to get eliminated anyway. Regardless, I will maintain my post for now, awaiting the next foolish opponent to come through the door, or for the next predicted eye to not encircle this house, if not the whole of shattered slabs. It appears that I'm still in the next predicted eye. So, unless something drastically changes, I have no plans to vacate this vantage point for an ambush. And before any member of our audience yells at your screen at me because I'm not opening the chest, do you see my loadout? Aside from getting a new SMG to replace my pistol as part of the weekly mission, I have no plans to replace any of my weapons with the contents of this chest. Especially with the high chance that the weapon or weapons that come out could be significantly weaker than what I have, so I'll just stick with what I have for now. I'm sorry, but that's how the SDA rolls. Deal with it. Anyway, I'm just going to stay here until either an opponent comes through, and I ambush them, possibly being eliminated in the process, or the next predicted eye moves to where I'm no longer safe if I stay here. And while I do, I guess I could chat just a little bit longer. When I said that I suspect Carnage would attack a marine base next, I wasn't joking. I really think, due to how heavily you're guarding the 7 droid army assets, that he would try to take advantage of your attention being mostly on Y-Labs, Kata-Tech, and Fort 7, and is about to strike one of your marine bases next. Please take this to heart, and at least send your elite strike team to patrol the base. Trust me, you'll thank me later. I'm picking up gunshots on my sonar. I think there's a firefight going on. And where there's a firefight, there are enemy loopers about. Yeah, at this point, it's unmistakable, there's definitely a firefight going on. 30 loopers left, including me. That's 29 opponents for me to worry about, or lose to. Any one of them could just waltz in here, and I'd have to take them out, or get eliminated trying. And now the storm's moving again. So now, I have to worry about where the next predicted I will move to. Fantastic. While I was speaking, roughly 3 loopers were eliminated. Battle Royale, and especially Team Rumble, can be unforgiving sometimes. And why Team Rumble, you may ask? Well, while you get to respawn on that version of the island, the teams are divided into 2 large teams, instead of several smaller teams. That enables more than 4 loopers to fire upon you at once. And depending on how well they work together, it could either be a challenge to take down the group, or flat out impossible. Although, depending on the mentality of the loopers in Battle Royale, you're actually not guaranteed to only fight 4 loopers at a time. Should another team, or individual within said team feel like it, you could be up against 5 to 8 players at once. This mentality is infamous, and yet sometimes used, within the SDA and SMC. And the mentality is called third-partying. Oftentimes, the third-partying team would then engage our original opponents in battle, attempting to once again take advantage of the fact that they too were weakened in the battle. However, as effective as this mentality is, it doesn't always work, as reversals happen all the time. Say an opponent has you treed, pressuring you with an assault rifle. If, at a suitable amount of remaining health, and the right moment, you flee to cover in order to recuperate, if said enemy pursues you, you could take a shotgun, and blast them at point blank or just the tiniest bit further, dealing just enough damage to eliminate them, while also taking a hit at the same time. If the opponent doesn't do enough, you'll survive the assault, although you'll be in very bad shape. However, if you both land a killing shot simultaneously, neither of you will win. And I know that sounds obvious, but it happens. It's a very rare occurrence, but it has happened to our successors before the island blew apart. Given everyone thought Dr. Sloan was dead when the Mecha Strike Commander punched her tank, and yet, we have audio files from our predecessors that now show otherwise, I'm certain that our corrupted successors are still out there. I glossed over it during my long explanation about the extremely rare event of a double elimination via just 2 loopers eliminating each other, but I just eliminated someone wielding a drum shotgun with my Mark Alpha, which I had gotten out of the chest prior to leaving the house for the next predicted eye. And now, there are only 18 more loopers, including myself, remaining. The pressure is rising with each passing second now, as I'm running away from the storm, eliminating the enemies I can, and watching the loopers remaining counter drop ever steadily. It didn't seem that long ago when it was 30. See, that's what I'm talking about when I say that Battle Royale can be unforgiving. Now 15 opponents remain. I see some builds ahead, and I'm trying to get to cover as quickly as...
Judging by how you were suddenly cut off, that would mean that you failed in finding that cover. Oh well, I guess that's that then. Onwards to the next mission, or whatever comes next anyway.